From a member of the House Armed Services Committee, Florida Congressman and Army veteran Michael Waltz. Good to have you back, Congressman.
Thanks, Shannon.
Some initial reaction from the GOP, at least from Senator Marco Rubio, saying this: Iran-backed militias have launched 3 attacks against Americans in the last 2 weeks. The strikes ordered by POTUS against these militias tonight were targeted, proportional, and necessary. So GOP support for what the newly elected Democratic president has done tonight. Your reaction?
Well, Iran historically is emboldened by weakness, and it's deterred by strength. I mean, President Trump showed that loud and clear. You know, just a little over a year ago, Iran was attacking international shipping. They shot down one of our drones. They attacked international oil supplies by an airstrike on a Saudi refinery, and then culminated with storming our embassy in Baghdad and killing an American at another base. And all of that stopped when President Trump held Iran accountable, took out their field general Soleimani, and deterrence was restored. So on the one hand, I do think it is a positive step that the Biden administration realizes that and has made this strike. I agree with Senator Rubio that it is necessary, but I'm not sure that it will ultimately be sufficient. Iran is happy to trade American lives for these Iraqi militias, their proxies, and we've lost hundreds of Americans over the years. But at the end of the day, we have to hold Iran itself accountable and raise the costs. And I hope the Biden administration realizes that and continues to take pages out of President Trump's playbook.
There are critics, including Caitlin Johnstone. She describes herself as a rogue journalist. She's been very critical of U.S. intervention in the Middle East. She says this: the U.S. is taking it as its business to control the affairs of not one, not 2, but 3 separate Middle Eastern nations in this latest airstrike, and still has the temerity to describe the latest aggression as, quote, retaliatory.
Yeah, well, the United States is always going to reserve the right to protect its personnel. It's there at the invitation of the Iraqi government, and will always protect its embassies and our allies' facilities and interests overseas. Remember, just a year ago when we took out Soleimani, libertarian Republicans, isolationist Democrats were breathlessly wringing their hands that he was going to start World War III. They passed resolutions to tie then President Trump's hands, and all of that seems to be silent somewhat tonight. But you always have the crowd that questions why we're there. Remember, Obama and Biden pulled us out of Iraq, and as a result, in the vacuum, we had al-Qaeda turn into ISIS. We had attacks across Europe, inspired attacks here in the United States, San Bernardino, Pulse nightclub, Paris, London, Germany. I mean, we can't just ignore the problem and wish it away, but we can take targeted, limited strikes to defend our personnel and stand up for our allies. But ultimately, Iran needs to feel the pain. They're perfectly happy to have their proxies do it. So I think we're going to have to take stronger action in the long run.
Well, quickly, what do you make of what have been viewed as very provocative actions by Iran, or at least their proxies, and also their language regarding the nuclear deal and the U.S.'s attempt to return to it in some form or fashion?
Well, I think this was testing the Biden regime and trying to establish leverage. Right now, they have none because of years of President Trump's maximum pressure campaign. Their economy is crumbling. Their people are rioting. They can't export their oil, and their military is in a terrible state. So they will use terrorism and use their proxies to try to establish leverage, because the Biden administration is signaling loud and clear they're ready to give up our leverage to re-enter a deal at all costs. Hopefully, that will take a step in the right direction after this strike, but the maximum pressure campaign needs to stay in place. We need to bargain for a better deal that gets all of their program and dismantles it, not just puts a pause on it, and we need to do that from a position of strength.
Congressman and veteran Michael Waltz, great to have you tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Shannon.